Cranberry Township, Pennsylvania is where our next speaker is from, and that is Dr. Elizabeth Carter, affectionately known as Dr. E. Welcome to BSN Speaker Spotlight, and tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Hello and good evening, Brian and Black Speakers Network. Yes, I am Dr. E. Elizabeth Carter, PhD. I am born and raised in Long Island, New York. For those of you in Long Island, shout out to you. Have moved up and down the East Coast and now live in Western Pennsylvania, a little north of Pittsburgh. I am what I would call a corporatepreneur. I still hold my job in corporate because there needs to be more people that look like me in corporate, and that's why I stay. But I know we all still need help and resources, so I have my own LLC Appeal, where I am equipping and empowering ambitious young minorities to really elevate their roles in the workplace by being more vocal, visible, and valued.
I love that. Dr. E, I have so many questions for you, but I just want to applaud your number one, you have a lot of education, you have a lot of accomplishments. I know you've worked in on the finance industry, and so we're going to get to that in a moment. But can you dive a little bit more into your philosophy of, kind of having this dual, yes, you recognize your value and your presence is needed in corporate, in the workforce, but you also recognize that there's so much for you to do in the entrepreneurship space. And it could be, I'm sure, challenging to kind of balance the two. Why is it so important for you to kind of set that example on both sides of the fence, and corporate and entrepreneurship?
Well, what I know is that I want to be the resource I didn't have coming up when I was in corporate. Being in finance, as you mentioned, there is still not many that look like us. And even any of the STEM industries, we are still lacking in representation. And what I do every single day is when I get up, I am learning and I'm then sharing that with my clients. As the corporate culture changes, as we're more focused on DEI, working from home, all those corporate nuances that may be challenging for us, I am entrenched and pushing the buttons inside the organization as an employee. And all my bumps and bruises, I'm taking for everyone else so that they can then learn from my mistakes and be much better than I have been at it.
All right. Well, I think that's a very important mission, and I feel the same way. I spent 11 years in corporate, as you know, and so that was no roadmap. That was, not as much, mentorship sometimes. So I'm sure that you're doing an incredible job lighting the path for other people to follow. So one of the things I would love to talk about is your company, Appeal. And so I know that there's like an acronym and there's like a methodology, as with everything, we kind of think alike. So can you tell us a little bit about like what that method is that you work with your clients on, and what does it represent?
Sure. So APPEAL is twofold. It is an acronym and it stands for an absolute passion for performance, engagement, analytics, and leadership. And those four pillars, performance, engagement, analytics, and leadership, are really the four pillars for success in working in any organization. So I really base all of my teachings, my learnings in those four areas. And at the same time, kind of going across the pillars is being able to be more visible, more vocal, visible, vocal, and valued. And really, that is the methodology around how we can perform better, how we'll show up better, how companies will appreciate us better. So that's really been my methodology around the pillars of what I teach and how I help others learn and grow and really evolve in the workplace.
Perfectly said. Now, I just kind of going through your bio, and I generally don't do this, but I'm going to read this just to punctuate for people how much experience that you bring to the table and how you're weaving that together. And so we've already talked about your background in insurance and finance, but you've also a self-described performance improvement leader with extensive expertise, or excuse me, experience in financial analysis, one, performance improvement, two, relationship management, three, and talent development, four. Now, I spent some time in corporate, and I know that there are individuals that spend their entire careers in just one of those functional areas, and whether it's talent, HR, finance. And so you've kind of blended all of those things together. Can you tell me a little bit about how you arrived at that? And, how does that blending influence kind of your business and your coaching strategy currently?
Well, it was interesting, Brian, when I had been working in finance for a long time, and people hate numbers, people hate finances, especially in corporate. So I built training to help people really understand how what they do impacts the results of the organization. And the light bulb went off. So that's how I started really commingling the talent development and the finance, because people took more ownership in what they did, because now they clearly could see what they do and the bottom line. And it's actually been it's been more of a problem than a good thing in corporate, because corporate wants you siloed. They want you either in accounting or HR or in product or in sales. So sometimes they'd have trouble figuring out what they would do with me. So I've had to figure out, and I help others do this, make my own path, figure out where I can lend my skill sets the best and be unique and authentic. And I found that job currently where I am in Pittsburgh, working for a health insurance company. And I'm an enigma, but they love me and I add so much value. And that's what I really instill in my clients. How do we create your uniqueness that you can excel in everything that you're great at and enjoy?
I understand. Yeah, it's so interesting because yes, organizations, I feel like most of if they're really progressive, they will try to have you on a rotation and get you so much experience. But a lot of times you almost kind of relegated to be in this like one functional area. But as an entrepreneur, again, you're bringing so many you're wearing all these different hats all the time. And so the ability to kind of blend multiple domains of experience, I think is very, very important. And so I really like that. My last question for you as we wrap up, Dr. E, just like with everyone else, what is it that you want to be remembered for? What's your legacy?
My legacy really is, even though I've been in corporate and remain corporate, I don't have that corporate stance, if you will. I try to keep it real. I let people really understand what's happening behind the scenes. What are those, what I'll call unconscious clues, things that you may be missing because you think everything is grand because they're telling you that, but behind the scenes, there's a lot more going on that you don't know about. So for me, it's about keeping it real, helping people understand it's not all roses and glory. There's a lot of work we have to do. And I push people to the limit a bit, but they really appreciate me in the end. So I'm a toughie, I'm corporate, but I keep it real.
Keep it real. I 100% feel that and believe that. And so, Dr. E, thank you so much for sharing. Obviously, just like with anyone else, if you want to connect with Dr. Elizabeth Carter, make sure you head to blackspeakersnetwork.com / speaker directory. You can connect with her, learn more about her programs, learn more about like events and all the incredible things that she has coming up throughout the year. But Dr. E, thank you so much for sharing. And of course, thanks for being part of the Black Speakers Network community.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it.
You are.